What's up, y'all? What is going on? I am trying to get situated here real quick. Hey, Michelle. How are you? How's the leg? I hope it's doing okay. All right, so I am, I don't know how long we're gonna be here. I'm gonna go over some of the hand stuff I done last week, talk about some of the books that I was showing, and then we'll do some feet before the night is out. But yeah, let's get on into it. So these are my main books that I use when I'm practicing and stuff like that. These two first ones on top here are really detailed, right? They go into a lot of detail, a lot of the muscle names and bone names and all that stuff. And the same for this one. But this one here is probably my favorite because it's simple and to the point. Healing super well. That's what's up. Good to hear. Good to hear. But yeah, this is my main go-to when I'm practicing anatomy and stuff like that. So everything is just, there's maybe a handful of major muscle and bone groups that they talk about throughout here. And that's pretty much all I need. Now, if I want to get detailed and really study, then I'll use those other books. But for the most part, I think this will work. Maybe I'll stick a link to this book in the comments below or something. But I don't even remember where I got this book, to be honest. I think it says like $15 or something. But I'm sure you can find it on Amazon. So I am going to grab my red pen and maybe a red pencil, or maybe not. Maybe just do it blue. And I'll be drawing in or sketching these out with my pen so it can pick up on the camera. So last week we did some hands, and like I said, we'll do one hand real quick just to show what I was talking about. This is always a favorite pose hand of mine. Move some stuff out the way. Get situated. So I'm gonna do this one here. And then I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. So on the comments from last week, there were a bunch of, well, not a bunch, but a few questions on the blocking method, and will it make you a quicker artist? I mean, I could see it making you a quicker artist because you're just taking it and breaking it down into bite-sized pieces, if you will. I think what'll make you a quicker artist, though, is just practice. Because then it'll be like, you working out a muscle for the most part. You start working on lifting and stuff like that. And then, the first month or so at the gym, kind of stumbling around with weights and not sure how much one hand or one arm could lift than the other. But as you keep doing it, you kind of know, and you start getting quicker, and your workout becomes 20-minute workout instead of an hour workout. So I think it's the same with that. The blocking thing though is just looking at the overall thing that you're drawing, the subject, and just breaking that down into shapes for you easier to eat. Was it for a class? What do you mean? Was what for a class? And so just like with all these other hands, I'll do the same thing here. I'll block the palm, then I'll block the fingers and the thumb, and then I'll flesh the rest out. So if we start here, I'm looking at this one. I don't know what that, I don't think it was for a class. The only anatomy classes we took was life drawing. I don't think they ever required us to purchase any books for like the anatomy classes. So I think a lot of these I've just picked up on my own. And so that's one. And then two would be finger shapes with the thumb hanging out here. And then I add the wrist on just so I could see what's happening and how the hand is actually flowing. So this will be one, and these are two. And then you'll see the same shape. But then you just start fleshing stuff out once you get to this point. But you can see how this shape is a hand already, right? And we just breaking it down into little bite-sized pieces. And then so you can actually, like if you want to think about the fleshing out part is do each of the pieces one at a time. I typically don't think about doing each piece by itself, but that's what I do unconsciously, if you will. So if I look at my reference, right now I'm just drawing the wrist, or the palm, just this one little piece, and I'm fleshing it out, right? And now I'm just connecting the fingers. Make sure you got the little pinky that's coming out of here. And like I was saying last week, I am looking at a few other things also, right? So I'm looking at this knuckle and seeing where and how close it is to this fingertip and how much space is in here. Is it lining up with the back of these knuckles? So I'm looking at all that stuff, and if I'm looking here, I can probably bring this finger up just a little bit Bring that finger knuckle down some. And then the same for this stuff up here, just making sure. And that is how you can start getting better with proportions. How close is this thumb to this finger? And it doesn't have to be exact, but you want it somewhere in the vicinity. Hands will always be tough. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can draw for your whole life. I still see McFarlane and all those guys saying they still have trouble with hands from time to time. So hands will always be a difficult thing to do. You just got to practice them. There's no way to get around it. And I can't stress that enough. Practice, practice, and more practice. And then you just flesh it out until you have a hand-like substance. No, until you get a hand. So 1 is the box. 2 is the palm box connected with finger boxes. And we can even break these down a little further. And then 3 is fleshing it, kind of looking at that box that you made, looking at the reference, and then just making it a 3D shape instead of just flat boxes. And then you have your hand. And the same thing is with the foot, right? I'm gonna zoom out here a little bit. And if we go through here some and find some feet. It's literally the same thing, right? So let me zoom in some. And actually, feet are obviously a little easier because we're not like chimps where they can grab stuff with their feet and hands. I mean, some people can, obviously, but they're not as long and they can't bend all the way. So they're a little restricted, which makes it a little easier to draw. But the concept is the same thing. You look at your subject and you just, a shape, a square, everything is square, because then you could round it and flesh it out. And then you could add this shape, which would be number 2. I'll put the ankle and the lower leg on there. And then 3 would be just fleshing it out, which we will do here right now. So if I do this one here, we'll come down like this. So we got shape number 1, right? 1. Draw that shape over again. And to, even get better with drawing it, draw each step over and over and over. When I do I practice hands and feet, And I'm just looking, I'm staying within this range here. Like I may add the fingers like a little more defined, but for the most part, I'm just practicing this. So if you look on my Instagram page, if you scroll back a little bit, there's some, I was drawing like 50 left and 50 right, 100 left and 100 right. But they're not fleshed out like that. They're more like this. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just practicing pretty much these two methods, if you will. And I'm practicing the shape. And so now we got 2. So that's 1, 2. And then we'll just flesh out the foot. And then we'll put that up there. And so there's like, right here there's some, I guess, bumps and stuff for the veins and all that stuff. Sometimes I'll put that there, sometimes I won't, however I'm feeling. For me, it's always less is more when it comes to hands and feet. Because at this point, I'm just trying to get the angle and the shape and all that stuff down. Now my allergies is messing with me. Ugh. So like on this side, I'll add some of those little, this is like fat right here, pads and all that stuff for your feet to help balance the rest of the body. But then and what I'm also doing, when I draw this line across, I'm looking at, this is where the webbing of the feet kind of starts separating and becoming toes. So this is my guideline for that. I can do a little imaginary line right here for the knuckles of the feet. The big toe. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. And that little pinky is kind of just jammed up in there. And there we have a foot. Like I said, now I'm just kind of fleshing it out. Let's do a different foot. Oh, this is a cool one. So I'm going to do, let's see if I can get this into focus here. Oops. So I want to do this back foot here, the facing away foot. Yeah, I don't know what's up with the allergies, man. Ugh. But yeah, just the rough, until you get comfortable with just going straight from that second step to the third step, just be comfortable with the rough ones. And then once you feel like, oh, I'm comfortable, I'm good, then you just move on and progress. And for me, I think the feet are a little more easier. So sometimes I won't even go into the whole step process. Because again, toes kind of don't need to bend all over the place. I can just cut that off, add a toe, the big toe. So this here is this knuckle. And again, the rough ones for feet will probably do just fine. You probably won't have to do too much of anything. You can put the little lines in there to imply that, there's wrinkles up under here. But for me, with feet, especially going in that direction, the biggest thing is the heel. You need to sell that there's some perspective happening, that it actually looked like it's going into space back that way. And then so you have the foot going in that direction. Again, I could have broke this down into the shapes, but there was really nothing else to really break down a shape for. Now this is a little more blocking out than just like we were doing with the palm. So when it comes to stuff like that, I'm really just looking at the overall shape, and that's one. You can add a little line here, bring your toes out just a little more, and this part can be number 2, and then you flesh it out. But this was a pretty basic shape. So even if we do the same with this one, right? There's just maybe a funny triangle box type shape for that one. And so I don't need to do all the other steps. I can just kind of look at this one here. And then really just bring it up, right? And we can add this as a number 2 right here, because they do have the foot and the ball of the foot right there. So but again, most of it's already done. We get the ball happening right there. And so this pose of the foot can be a little more trickier because there's a lot of perspective happening. But again, you know, even with perspective, you know, stuff going away from the camera or coming to the camera. Let's see, to and away. If you break it down in shapes, I think it just makes it a little easier for you to look at what's happening here and then, you know, translate it back to your drawing. Let's see. All right, this is a cool one here. Again, some perspective happening because the foot is facing us, you know. But again, if we look at our reference, I mean, literally, it's a box. We can just stop with the box right there, right? And then add that. I think for me, when I'm looking at this though, I'll take it a step further. With this here, I'll box that off and then bring it in here. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So I got my reference. Because of the pinky toe is kind of like doing its own little thing there. I felt like I wanted to put that little box there so I could just see it in my brain, as that's how that reference is. Also, ankles are not even. The inside is always higher than the outside. I know it's weird, that's just how we're made up. So that's one, we can use that as two. And so if I do that shape again, with the little pinky, and we add our reference for the ankles and the leg, and then I can come in and just start fleshing it out. So I do like the ankle here, but I also like how it bumps out here. I really just love anatomy in general, but and then also draw light too. Like, you don't have to draw dark. You see how these are really sketchy and light, and I'm allowing, in a sense, the pen to find its own line. Do that. You know, don't go right in hard and press down on that pencil just yet, or pen. Find that line. We're not in a race. We're not in a rush.
Here you are, sipping tea, listening to great music, just taking a break from all the business.
And there's that little pinky out here. But then you can see, like, he or she has, you know, the pads under here. So don't forget those.
That means more of this, and absolutely no more of me. Sorry for the whole interrupting the piece thing. Get a 1-month trial on us. Terms and conditions apply.
And then, even like I said with this, you can just practice sketching it. You don't have to fully render anything to be considered practicing or, you know, wanting to get better. Just do the rough. and look at it and be like, oh, I see what I messed up. And then do another set, right? And there we have that foot right there. You know, again, we're just sketching stuff out. We're not taking anything serious at this point. You're just practicing the shapes. And I'll do, so while I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm gonna do this whole page of feet real quick, but I'm gonna just do somewhere in between these two, right? So I'm gonna start over here on this side and just work my way over. And so again, I'm just looking at the shape. There's nothing I'm trying to make real serious. I'm just practicing right now. And this is all I will do sometimes, is just sit here and look at hands and feet and just draw them over and over and over. Until I get better and better and better at it. And even with this, I'm honestly almost done with that foot. Like, I'm happy with that, right? There's an ankle. I may just drop some shading in there just for whatever, and then I'll just go on to the next one. Looking at the shape. And this is also just good warm-ups, right? For getting ready to draw. I try not to go into drawings cold, if you will, but these are good warm-ups, right? And we got the ankle back here. And with these, some of this, you do want to keep in some of the shadow work maybe, just so you can sell the foot more, and the weight and the volume of it. And I'm on to the next one. Like, there's no need to sit there and try and do every little detail for what I'm doing here, right? You got the ankle. Ankle's up here a little higher because it's the inside one. Got some toes happening here. And we got the pad. And they all won't look good. So you have to be okay with that too. But the more and more you do it, the better you will see you get. I promise you. And we got the little toes here. And again, some of these lines are just to, like these lines here are just to sell a foot, right? Yes, you have tendons and all that stuff there. You could do all the vein work and all that stuff, but I don't think I need to do that right now. But I do want to show that it's a toe or a foot. And on to the next one. And just keep going and keep going. What up, Terry? Keon Tate, what's going on? And now I'm on to the next one. I think I'm gonna hit this one up. And I'm just looking for shapes. Shapes again, shapes again. I could done with that, right? Because again, I'm just practicing. I'm just taking all these feet reference and just practicing. You know, if you've seen that I was doing some of these up here, I'm still doing that, but I'm just not breaking all the way down to step 1, step 2, 3, or whatever. I'm just doing a square shape. I'm looking at the reference some more. Then I'm just adding and fleshing stuff out as I'm going here. Some of these feet poses are a little advanced, honestly. Which is good because it's challenging. And I'm on to the next one. Can you do a shading foundation light source guide? Yeah. So I think we can do that. So my next thing I want to do is torsos, but I think from this hands and feet section, then I'll jump into the light source and stuff. That'll be just one video, and then we'll go into a series of torso, male, female, just, you know, the chest and the abdomen area. Then we'll hook on legs and stuff later, but yeah, I could definitely do a light source and all that, because that's very important. When I learned in school that there were really no lines in life, it's the light that creates a line. It just, my mind was just like in slow motion. It just, I was blown away. Let's see here. Yes, and so I look at this one here. And again, I'm just drawing a shape. nothing major. And if you look, that is that shape, right? And so you just kind of flush it in. You can take your time. There's, again, no rush. Like these are, again, this is practice, right? I'll do sheets and sheets of these, hundreds of hands, hundreds of feet. And I know it may seem like that I'm kind of sketching fast through them. I think I've just trained myself enough to muscle memory, if you will, that I know what I'm looking for and what I know I need to practice on and all that stuff. So I'm in no way rushing, if that makes sense. But yeah, next time, make sure y'all bring your sketchbooks too, man, and practice with me. See, and right here, right? The reason I say don't draw dark, because that's, I wouldn't say it's a problem, but it'll be a problem when you go to erase that line or something. I typically don't like erasing, so that would just be a lighter line. But if it's drawn really hard, that's going to be a problem to get off of good paper, and especially if you're doing something for a client. So always go light. I even do that with my tattoos. I go really light. I'd rather have a client come back and say, hey, can you darken that, versus it being too dark and now they need laser treatment or something. So always go light. Always, always. And that's the foot. I mean, it's just, again, practice, and more practice. I know I say that a lot, but it's the truth. I can't tell you anything else. You know, I mean, I could say, hey, let's, like Keontae was saying, you know, was that Keontae? Yeah, you know, like practice light and shading. We can go over some techniques and stuff, but you know, if this is what you want as a job or profession, or even just as a hobby and get better, you have to practice. Like, I mean, a lot of it too. And the reason I started with the hands and feet, because if someone wants to do this as a profession, like I said last week or the week before, if it's children's illustration books or comic books, companies are going to ask you to draw hands and feet right off the bat. So, like, you know, you'll get a call back if you make the cut, you know, to get in there and talk to someone. Bring your sketchbook, and they're going to ask you to draw hands and feet. Like, that's, I don't know any company that I've applied for that I didn't have to show that I could draw hands and feet. I don't know if it's still out there. If you guys want, excuse me, want my ebook, please email me so I can send it to you. I think I mentioned a while ago too, if you guys want, so I have these sketchbooks that I'd like to give to y'all, to my Patreon people. So it's my sketchbook, I draw, and then on the inside, there's little mad pencilers in the corner. Again, this is only for my Patreon people. So if y'all want one of these, just email me, send me your address. I think I sent 2 to a few people. But I know I got more than 3 people that are on Patreon and support me. So I have, so there's sketchbooks, and then I have, I don't know if I have it here, but I have some that are lined too. So if you just want to write notes or something in a book, just hit me up and I'll send one out to you. So. Yes, practice, practice, practice. Buy the book also. Personally, I draw gloves. His hands become. Yeah, and that's cool, you know. And I think the whole blocking thing is more glovey, right? Is that a word? Glovey? It's more glovey than, you know, getting right down to the fingers and, you know, the definition. And that's good practice, you know, because once you start drawing gloves enough, you can just scale it down to a finger, so it's not as puffy and big. You want to get away with drawing feet if you're, yeah, that dude. I mean, I know he was and I guess still is, the butt of, you know, being in an industry as deep as he was, who couldn't draw as good as some of his peers. I mean, he brought us some good stuff though, you know. But yeah, he definitely, I still look at his stuff now. Even he doesn't draw as often, but even when he does, it's just like, oof. But yeah, y'all, so I will, Glovey, word of the year, I like it. So we'll finish up next week with hands and feet. I'll draw some really detailed feet and maybe a hand, and just kind of go over and wrap this whole hands and feet series up. And then Keontae, I'll write it down here. Let's do light source, highlights and shadows. And then from there, like I said, I'll do torso. I mean, if y'all got anything else that I can package into like a series or something, like a 2 to 4 part series, nothing real long, that I could start pitching, you know, out to my Instagram folks and get them to come on in on the Patreon side. Let me know. Send me a message or something, and that'll be dope. So, as always, man, I appreciate y'all for hanging out. I feel like I'm hungry. I don't know if I just want a snack, but I will see y'all next week, man. And like I said, we'll finish up this series and call it done. Peace out, y'all. Oh yeah, skeletons. And creativity.